All right. Okay, we have 18 viewers now. So we'll give it another 30 seconds and can start. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Rajat Krishnan. I'm the co-founder of Cloud Control, and I have with me Sanjeev. Sanjeev, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sanjeev Kumar. I am leading the product development at Cloud Control.
All right. So, Sanjeev, what are we going to cover today?
So today we have, I would say, very simple agenda. We are deploying three pods, three applications. The first would be Vault, and these applications would get deployed for every participant who are joining the workshop and kind of like they're doing hands-on. These pods are Vault, and this is always the first pod that we deploy on the cluster, Kubernetes cluster. And I will be explaining the details that what this platform will look like. The Vault would be keeping all the secrets that gets created and maintained for say, Postgres. And the second pod would be the Postgres. And as you will see that this is not a simple deployment of a regular Postgres which you can get from the internet and run it. This is containerized deployment on the Kubernetes cluster. And at the same time, you will see from the interface that it has lots of rich interfaces, setting up the user, setting up the database, kind of like the feature rich self-service deployment of the Postgres. That is what you will see. And you will also see that this Postgres is fully integrated with Vault. It is retrieving the secret from the Vault. And also we will show that how the day-to operation work, how you access the Postgres. And for access, we will show the adminer interface. It's the new name, a new version of the PG admin, which all of us are familiar with. And the PG admin, adminer will be running on the same cluster, and you would be able to access the Postgres with a multi-factor authentication.
Okay. So let me get the registration link posted here. While we are doing that, why don't we cover what is our platform AppZ all about? Kind of touch on what it is in a nutshell.
Sure, Rajat. So our platform, we call it AppZ. It's a, I would say that multi-cloud software delivery platform, which is more application centric. And the whole idea is that the cloud, which I would say that it's a decade-old phenomena, starting with AWS starting in 2006, Azure started in 2014, Google has been around, getting more traction now, and so many other clouds are emerging. We do see a trend that in coming decades, people will stop maintaining their local data center, which is more prevalent now. More than 80% of the compute is still running in the local data center. Most of them will get migrated to the cloud with its maturity and the cost effectiveness, the capex versus opex model. All the factors will drive the cloud to be more prominent for our day-to-day computing across all the industries. With that, what we see is that all clouds are not equal, and to operate the cloud, you have to have a good amount of knowledge. That's the area which we are trying to establish a platform which is multi-cloud ready, and it is completely cloud agnostic, and it gives simple usable interface to operate the cloud and whatever cloud you choose. That's the goal we are trying to achieve. And to do that, we have brought in like lots and lots of infrastructure level automation, which clouds are also providing, but we are adding additional layer to make all clouds look alike. And at the same time, with our unique technology of AppG stacks, which we will be demonstrating using those three parts that I mentioned, the Vault, Postgres, and that miner, we are taking the cloud to the developer. Rather than developers learning about the cloud going through the certifications, we are making cloud more easy to consume from the application development point of view, but at the same time having the full control and the which is required from the security and the risk people, so that they can also have the visibility that what's going on and what the application teams are doing.
All right. So today it's going to be a hands-on workshop. So for those of you who want to register, I have shared the link in the chat. So irrespective of which platform you're watching this, you'll be able to take that link and register in our Google Forms. So let's continue the platform description and kind of give more idea about how the platform works. So we are talking about multi-cloud, right? So Sanjeev, can you kind of touch on that?
Sure. So this, I would say, a very simplistic explanation that you have an appliance, and here, or we call application, we call it appliance, and this you plug into any cloud, and your application is up and running. That's the model we want to be in. Which cloud you want to go to, it's your decision, and your application should be able to fit with the way you fit your application, and you do not know that where the electricity is coming from. The same way the compute should be. It is not there right now. In fact, all the clouds are trying to offer this service, but the cloud is becoming every day it is becoming more and more complex. In fact, we have been part of the several webinars and several conferences, and we see the biggest obstacle to onboard the cloud is the talent scarcity and the know-how, the knowledge which is required to onboard the cloud. And another trend that we see happening is that each cloud has its own lingua franca. Like every cloud is different. Just because if you have done AWS certification, have good knowledge, uh, you may think that you may be able to operate Azure cloud. That is not the case. You have to learn Azure a specific language, Azure a specific terminology, Azure a specific interface to operate the Azure. So we want to bridge the gap that whatever cloud you go, we will give you a interface which is simple, easy to use, and it is GitOps ready. So all you are changing, either from the application development point or operation point, is a simple manifest descriptive language. And with that, you would be able to operate the cloud. You would be able to bring your applications to the cloud.
All right. So we are achieving multi-cloud deployment here. So I know we are using Kubernetes. Can you kind of touch on what the benefits of using Kubernetes is?
That's a good point, Rajat. Now, the Kubernetes is another, I would say that the technology which has taken the compute industry by storm. And in a nutshell, it's a more, I would say, like it's a resilient, secure, and dense computing platform. It was pioneered by Google, and they have been using this in their environment long ago. They released they made it open source so that the entire industry can benefit from that. And when you are running the large computing, what we see a general trend, especially in the private data center, is that again, let me go back a little bit. Historically, it used to be the bare metal, then the virtualizations that took into effect, and the Kubernetes is the next level of the optimum utilization of the resources, be it compute, storage, or network. What it does is that it condenses the compute resources in a cluster, so it is more resilient, and you can add and like remove the node on the fly without affecting the running applications. So that kind of like the elasticity makes it more promising, and and it is available in all the cloud. So let me give this explanation that app-gkate cluster, which Rajit is showing in the picture. Our platforms comes with a built-in Kubernetes platform. Uh, right now, we are using the upstream microkate as our Kubernetes platform, and we layer our platform on top of that. So as you can see that the starting point or the minimum configurations for our platform is the 3 virtual machines. We call one master and the 2 nodes. It can be expanded to any size, but this is the starting size. And on the master node, we are running our control plane. We call the AppG, like the dashboard and an AppG platform, which you will see the interface. And there are several other. Our GitOps engine is running on that. And on the worker node, we are running your application workload we will be running. We are running ingress controller so that the idea is that once you deploy the applications, you get a URL to sign to the applications. We have and the certificates, like all these things are taken care of. So you just deploy the applications. You get a notification in your mail that here is the URL. You should be able to access the application. And so it's what we are providing as part of AppG platform, not only a Kubernetes cluster, we are also giving the interface to directly deploy it and from your GitHub repository. And also to mention that we are CNCF certified and we are partner in that.
All right. So can we explain the 3 URLs that we have here? See, the app URL, dashboard URL, and the webhook URL.
Sure. So Rajit will show you that our interface, but the dashboard URL is whether you are an operations team member or like application developer or even the risk or whatever role you have, you go to our AppG dashboard and see that, and of course you will be entitled to the applications which you want to see, and you will see how your application got built and deployed. It has also admin interface for administrators to onboard the applications and other details, onboard the users and all. Now, the webhook URL is something which our GitOps engine use to link to your GitHub repository and access your GitHub repository and deploy it on the platform. So that's the webhook URL, and then application URL. So we are running the full ingress controller on the worker node, so that once your application is deployed, we are creating a URL for your applications if it is web interfacing, and we are sending you a link to log into the application.
All right. And the node 1 and node 2 are they typically deployed in multiple regions or multiple AZ?
Yes. So we are available in AWS Marketplace, and if you build the platform or AppG platform in the AWS Marketplace, node 1 and node 2 are by default multi-AZ.
All right. Let's move on and talk about how we are deploying the application today. So we are going to deploy 3 workloads. So can we kind of talk about the flow of what we are going to do and how that works behind the scenes?
Sure. So this picture summarizes the workflow of our AppG platform, and you will see as an application developer or as an operator, whatever hat you are wearing, and you will see during the today's workshop that on the left hand side you are sitting, and on the right hand side we have the cloud. Now today's the AppG platform where you will be deploying, it is running on the Nutanix the platform. So we have built an AppG platform on the Nutanix cluster, which is hosted in our office. But this platform is applicable for any environment, any cloud, any private data center. That's why we say that whether you are running on-prem or any cloud or multi-cloud, it doesn't matter. We give you a simple interface to consume one or more At the same time, without kind of like knowing the complexity, without dealing with the complexity of those underlying cloud or even the private data center. So in today's deployment, you will see that you will be deploying three workload, and whatever hat you are wearing, the developer or operation, you will be submitting the workload deployment uh, using your GitHub repository. And before that, you will be forking we have the public repository. You will fork, say, our Vault, we'll fork our Miner and Postgres, and making some changes in the manifest file to deploy on the AppG platform, which is running on the Nutanix cluster, as I said. Now, the way the deployment works, that this manifest gets integrated with AppG stacks on the top. Now, these AppG stacks are the curated images, and as I said earlier, that this is not a simple Postgres deployment, which is available in the in the Docker Hub and all. This is a feature-rich Postgres deployment, and you will see in the manifest that it is also creating the required users. The idea here is that to consume the Postgres you can deploy it, but how do you create new users? How do you create new database? All those things are driven by the manifest itself and some of the files which are under the control of the developer and in their own Git repository. So you will see all these things kind of like happening. Now, once the load, say in this case, Postgres is deployed, you have the full visibility that how the deployment happened, how many users got created, what the database got created. We have the full visibility with our dashboard, which is at the bottom, and you can also monitor the day two aspect of your Postgres, how your application is running, where it is running, how much resources it is consuming. So you have a complete from deployment to the day two observability to performance monitoring, the complete logging and alerting capability. You have full control, but you do not need access to log into the system and look into this. Everything is visible from our dashboard.
All right. So it looks like some of the folks have already registered. So we'll give it another minute, and then we'll start the hands-on part of the workshop. So back to the Kubernetes cluster, right? So we talked about the application URL and the certificates. So what is the role of ingress controller, and how are we taking care of load balancing and resilience in this cluster?
So for the load balancer and the resiliency, to some extent, the Kubernetes itself provides those capability, because if you are running depending upon the stateful and the stateless, and if you are able to handle the multiple replicas, our manifest file allows you to run the multiple replica for a stateless or even the stateful applications if it is getting handled. And the Kubernetes will take care of the resiliency, install the multiple pod, and redirect the traffic as needed. Now, the certificate part, we are using the Let's Encrypt certificate. It's sent in the auto renewal mode, so you don't have to kind of like worry about it. Our dashboard also has a certificate, and for every namespace, we create a certificate and keep on expanding as additional workload are getting added. Uh, if you establish our AppG platform, you are free to use your own certificate. But we so from the beginning, we give you everything to go operational, and we have clients live in productions running the live applications using our platform without using any other additional resources.
Awesome. So for those of you who haven't registered, please do register so that we can send you the activation link. So now let me share my screen. So this is our Grafana dashboard that kind of gives you an idea where we are actually going to deploy. So Sanjeev, you want to kind of talk about the cluster that we have?
And that's correct. I believe that this is a 4-node cluster, Rajit, we are running. I can see that. Yep.
Yeah,
So we have,
it is 3-node and master. That's right.
yeah, one, and again, we added because this is the cluster which we are running, I believe, 8 CPU and 32 gigabyte machines. And this cluster we have been running for more than a year. And we are running at least like more than like 100 workloads we are running. And we had numerous workshop running on this, and we are keeping this production like cluster as a production. We are maintaining that. And and as you can see that this is Grafana dashboard and Grafana and Prometheus combinations, where we are gathering the node level statistics. We are also in the process of building more and more exporter, which would be application specific. We can drill down at the applications level and do that. This is more from the infrastructure point of view, where you can see that how many what are, and we have also put some thresholds that if there is a threshold is exceeding in terms of the storage and the memory utilization, we get alerted, and those some of the other color sign that you see.
All right. So now I'm going to drag in the dashboard. So this is the dashboard of AppZ. So once you register, this is what you will see. It will say no data to display because you haven't deployed anything yet. So now let's start the deployment. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to deploy the vault. So so let's start. So I'm going to have Anusha share the link in our Slack channel. So the process we are going to follow is we are going to take the Git repository. It's a public repository where we have a sample vault, and we're going to clone it, and we're going to deploy it. Right, Sanjeev, can you explain that process while I get
That's correct. So Anusha will be posting the public repository link. You fork it into your personal Git repository, and you have already shared your Git ID with us, so that we have set up a make sure that your namespace is there on the cluster where you will be deploying the workload. And and there will be like some changes that you will be making in our manifest file called app.yml. But before that, you will be making the changes in the webhook. I hope if you are familiar, Rajit will walk you through that where to add the webhook, so that if you once you make the changes in the manifest file, it will trigger a deployment on the AppG platform.
Okay. So let me start. So the first step is so this is the link that we shared on the channel. So I'm going to fork it under my account. And we're going to add the webhook to the cluster. We'll change the content type to application/JSON and then add the webhook. So now I'm ready to deploy. So let's talk about the content of this repo. So I got two simple README file, and we have the apps.yml. So Sanjeev, you want to walk us through this?
Yes. So in all the three deployments, and you will see that this AppG YAML manifest file. So this manifest file integrates your GitHub repository with the AppG platform. And it's a very simple, descriptive, and it explains that what it is doing. So the first part, as you can see, that some naming conventions like app, and also the notification that you will be changing, so that you will be giving the notifications to your yourself, like your email ID, so that you will get the notifications once the workload is deployed. The next part is the build. And this build is specifying the image template, the app.js stacks, which will get used to deploy the workload on the platform under your namespace. Now, this is crucial. Now, this is not this is an enhanced version of the Vault image, which is available in the Docker Hub or maybe the Hashicorp repository. What we have done here is that added additional layers to enable the logging and monitoring capability. And as you see in the properties sections, we have also enabled the auto password generations. We have done enhance this image available in the open source community to make it more application centric, and that's what we do. That's what we do as a company. Our product is highly specialized in doing that. So make it consumable so that you don't have to learn about the complexity of the Vault. You just deploy this. The Vault is the premier kind of the security solution. You deploy it on your cluster and start using it, and all your future workloads would be the Vault integrated. That's our promise. Now the build sections you will deploy it. Then the deploy sections you are defining that how you are deploying it. So you are saying that, hey, this will be a stateful set, some ports that need to be open, and in this case, we are deploying only one replica, although we have the capability to take a backup of the Vault and keep it in etcd and retrieve it if needed. Now, the volume section is defining that how many, what storage, what the PVs, and PVCs will get attached to the Vault. So it's a simple manifest file, pretty descriptive, and and you will see the similar kind of manifest file everywhere on all the future workloads that you will be deploying.
I'm going to edit the app/notify. I put my email address, and then I'm also going to change the context.
Yeah, this is important because every pod, every namespace will have its own Vault, and we, Rajat, myself, and the entire team of the cloud control comes from the financial services background, and the security is paramount for us, and the security as well as the controls. We want to make sure that we take care of the security first, and then build the whole application deployment around it.
All right. So I made the two changes. I'm going to commit now. That will trigger the deployment. So let's go back to the picture, kind of explain. So I pretend to be a developer and I committed the change. And behind the scenes, through the webhook, the AppZ platform got triggered. And as we speak, the container image is getting built for my Vault in my namespace, pulling the AppZ stacks, the Vault image from our AppZ stacks, and deploying it into the Kubernetes cluster. So while we're waiting, Sanjeev, can you explain the significance of AppZ stacks?
Yeah, AppJ stacks, again, AppJ stacks and AppJ platform kind of like go hands in hand, and AppJ stacks our way to make automation application centric. And this is also a differentiator in terms of what cloud control offers and what automation is offered by the rest of the industry, and I would say even the major cloud providers. So everybody has lots of automations like the Terraform, cloud formations, as ARM, Azure. Everybody has the different flavor of the automation that they provide against the infrastructure. What we are providing, that their entire like automations, we have layered and a kind of like a cloud agnostic automation. So we are covering their automations underneath our platform, which is already kind of like available, but it is simple to use and you don't have to. But apart from the infrastructure automation, through AppJS stacks, we are offering the application centric automation. So that once you want to deploy your applications, again, we have hundreds of like stacks, and whatever technology flavor that you are using, either from the applications layer like the Tomcat, Node, Java, Scala, whatever you want to use, or even the database layer, you will see the Postgres deployment. We have an AppJS stack for that, and this is a resilient AppJS stack, fully curated, and fully scanned. We have all the details for that. And you don't have to learn the technology. You don't have to learn the like the nitty-gritty of the cloud as well as the technology that you're deploying to start using it.
All right. So I'm back to the dashboard now. And you can see the Vault deployment was built and deployed. So Sanjay, you want us to take us through this, the dashboard, please?
Sure. So as you can see that it has, I would say like five uh, columns. You can say the first is the name and the target. If you're deploying into the QA, there will be a separate line item for that for the deployment in the QA. Now, another thing to mention is that you see it is a seamless deployment because it is dev. Had it been a QA and prod deployment, there would have been an approval required to kind of like move from build to deployment. We have like built all the controls around it, but since it is a dev deployment, it is a seamless from build to deploy. Now, Rajit, why don't you open the build part and we will go into some details. So this is the build log for your application. But in this case, like the manifest file had the limited information. Had it been the like a proper application build, then you will see the Maven build or Node build, all those triggering. But in this case, as you can see, Rajit will show you that what triggered the deployment. You have the complete traceability. So click that link, and it takes you to the changes that you made which triggered the webhook and kind of resulted in this deployment. So we are keeping the complete granulated details so that down the line, if audit comes, and these things become very important if you are deploying into the higher regions, say QA and productions, what get deployed, we have complete traceability from this simple interface.
All right, I'm
Now
closing
go.
this.
Yeah, and going back, so this is like our build process, and once the build completes, then you can say that we are pushing the image, built image, which is the combination of the app.js stacks and whatever you provided, the feature, whatever the details you provided in the manifest file called app.yml, and 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 we have like every D. If you click that, it has the details about uh, in this case, this is the inspect the record for the image that got built, and once the image gets built, it is getting pushed to our registry. Now we are running the registry on our platform itself. So our platform comes up with a built-in registry. But if you, as an enterprise or as a company, you want to have a registry placed somewhere else, either in the cloud or even on-prem, like Nexus or Artifactory, we are perfectly fine with that, and we will integrate with enterprise registry. That's not a problem at all. As you can see that before we push the registry, we have the hash 256 like calculated, so that it's an immutable like image, and it cannot be tampered because we check this value at the deployment time.
Right. So I'm closing this, moving on to the next column.
So next is the deployment. So we take the the image that we push in the registry and start building what we call is the Kubernetes manifest. Different technology have again different technology has like the Helm and all. They ask you to build the manifest file. We are building the Kubernetes manifest on the fly based on the details that you the supply, and
Yeah, this is the build deployment log.
yeah, and we have the complete granulated detail. If you look at let's say the deployment YAML preparation complete, and we will show that what that looks like.
So this is the deployment YAML complete.
Yep. So let's look into the detail of that. So this is the complete deployment YAML which gets executed on the Kubernetes cluster, in this case AppG platform, and the pod gets built. So you have all the details. In fact, we are not using Helm and all. We are creating on the fly, but still we are keeping the traceability that what manifest Kubernetes manifest resulted in the deployment. We can close that. And once the pod is deployed, we have the details about the running statistics of the pod. We call it like the monitor, and it has the performance monitoring as well as the logs capability. So as you can see that how much resources it is consuming. That's one part. I think we collect maybe 21 metrics for that, and then look into the log. So this logging capability is very unique. As a developer, I do not need a privileged access to the cluster to look into the log. I can look into the log directly from here, whether I'm deploying a pod like Vault, which is of course not my code, but at the same time, if you're deploying my applications, my Java applications, I should have visibility to look into the complete logs.
All right. So Vault is done. So let's move on to the next deployment, which is Postgres.
Yep.
Right. So Anusha is going to share the link for Postgres. So this will be a bit more involved. So we are going to also populate, not only deploying it, we are also going to populate it with some seed data, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So let's wait for Anusha to post the link, and I'll repeat the same process. All right.
Well, that's going on. As I said earlier, that this Postgres is not just a containerized Postgres deployment from the net. You can always do that, but in that case, you have to log into the Postgres. You have to know the Postgres like language to create the database, create the user, load the data. We are giving all these services as part of the GitOps. On top of and this becomes that's where the feature-rich Postgres that we are giving, and we also have this monitoring and logging capability and rest of the capability. In fact, we have built the platform so that it gives a holistic application-centric experience rather than like, yep, Postgres get deployed and then you are on your own to manage it.
All right. So I clicked on the link that Anusha posted, and now I'm at the repo. I'm going to fork it now. So forking it into my account. And so here we're going to make two edits. So I'm going to make the AppZ YAML changes first, which is the same as that what we did before. Change the email. Okay, so I'm going to commit that. Now moving on to the settings, webhook. Now I'm going to add the webhook. Again, the URL is in Slack. Change the content type and add the webhook. Now the next step is to edit the setup.yaml, which basically creates the required users and the seed data loading part of it. So this is a declarative file, and Sanjeev, you want to take us through what the different parts of this file is?
Sure. So as you can see that using the setup.yaml, you are preceding the Postgres with certain users, certain database, and also loading. In this case, you're loading the file at the bottom, which is the restore section. So these type of features we provide so that applications team are more productive. Like in many cases, as you can see that many enterprise we have the segregation of duties. Even if the Postgres get deployed, then somebody else or DBAs will deploy the changes and all. Here we are giving a self-service interface and fully controlled and regulated interface to deploy the changes using the GitOps. And this is our kind of like IP to make the Postgres much more application centric than the regular Postgres which is out there.
All right. So we want to talk about the restore part of it, and what is the significance of the token?
Yes. So, and as you can see that if you accidentally or you make any change, or in this case, you might add additional users in the Postgres, we want to make sure that the restore section does not get triggered again if it is already applied. So for that, we have like a time-based token we have introduced. This is to make sure that and that token is UTC time plus 15 minutes. So unless user intentionally specifies that value, the restore part will not trigger.
All right. So Anusha just shared the token that is valid for the next 15 minutes. So I made the change. So and then I'm going to commit. This is again going to trigger the deployment. So while let's wait for the deployment to be done.
Now, as you can see, like Rajat, if you can show the app.yml also. So this app.yml has a bit more involved, and I would like user to know that what it is. And especially, let me go ahead and the properties section. As you can see that here we are creating the database, and there is a master word in the repository name. And what it means is that the Postgres database that we are deploying, we have a slave version also to make it make the database more resilient and to enable the HA and the DR capability. So this Postgres deployment is going in the master mode. We are also creating a replica user, and if you happen to run the replica slave pod, then it will that user will get used to fetch the data. So we are giving a complete HADR capable Postgres deployment. And it's not that you get the Postgres container, Postgres image from the net, and then start worrying about that how to run it in a resilient manner. We see in the industry that is what mostly happening, that people can download the image, they are able to make the applications or like the database run on the desktop, but they get lost at how to take that applications running on the desktop and make it enterprise ready. Our platform kind of like the promises that we have all the stacks which are enterprise ready with the built-in resiliency, like built-in logging and monitoring capability, and so that you can simply start using them as in a dev environment and be ready to move into QA and productions right away.
All right. So again, I just got the Postgres records here. So it's the same. We have the build log here. And we have the deployment log. And then this is the monitoring records. And then we can go into the logs. Looks like it is still loading.
So let me explain the logging aspect, Rajat, a little bit so that users should know. Now, the logs are getting generated at the pod level, and as part of our platform, we have the uh, Elastic running. That is where the logs are getting shipped using the Fluentd, which is part of our every pod, which is part of the stack. Now, there is always a delay, maybe a minute or two, to get those logs shipped. So if there are 100 pods running, all the 100 pods are shipping the log or like sending the log to the Elastic, and then we have the the gray log on top of that to show the display of the log, and that to kind of like the control in the application-centric manner, so that you will be seeing the log for the applications to which you are entitled to. So this whole logging and monitoring capability comes built in as part of the platform. We also have ability that instead of Elastic, if you are running the enterprise Elastic, or if you are running a Splunk, we can ship the log to your enterprise endpoint as well.
All right, so let's move on to the next deployment, which is Adminer. So you want to talk a little bit about the Adminer, what
So
it is?
Adminer, yeah, Adminer is the good old the PG admin is the new name for that. And one area which I want to stress is that if you are doing either a containerized deployment, or even if you are consuming the RDS service in the cloud, you get stuck that how do you access the database, because the database always sits in the private network, and uh, and most of the database browsing tools per se, whether like Toad, Adminer, there's so many out there. They are the desktop tools, and accessing the database for maybe like just the browsing purpose, or the day-to-day monitoring, and even in some case admin, it's a big challenge. In fact, if you are using the like RDS service from AWS, they they put a kind of like the EC2 box as a SSH tunnel to do that. Again, that's an extra cost. Um, our way of doing is that if you are running containerized database like Postgres here, or even running the RDS uh, on the AppG platform, in the same kind of the security group, you can say you can deploy an Adminer image, which is a database browsing and admin tool, and have the private kind of like the network connectivity with the database. And we understand that since we are exposing the database, this has to be a multi-factor authentications enabled security, and that's what you will see. So it's kind of like the secure access to the database, which is deployed on the private network, in this case the cluster, and you will see that.
Okay. So Anusha just shared the link to Adminer repo. So I'm going to go to that now. And today also, I think one of the basic things about Adminer today is I know we deployed Vault and Postgres. Now we are going to use Adminer to kind of verify both as well, right?
That's correct. That's correct. In fact, one thing I forgot to mention is that as part of the Postgres deployment, lots of secrets are getting generated, and all those secrets are getting auto-generated by Vault and stored. So you can see that in what is the Postgres user password or the replica user password, everything is generated automatically and kept. So you don't need to know that. Only thing, in fact, in this case, you will be our Anusha will be sending out would be the Spring Boot user password, which she will be sending out to each one of you, so that you will be able to log into the database using Adminer interface.
Okay, and the Adminer is also enabled for multi-factor, right? So
yes. So you will be getting a QR code also to download on your phone, mobile devices, to access that. So it's a password plus the OTP code that you will be getting generated on your mobile devices.
All right. So I got the link. I'm at the public repo now. I'm going to fork it to my account. I'm going to again add the webhook. And going back to AppsYAML, make those two edits. And this is the authenticator secret that we were talking about, right? So this
That's
was
correct. That's
automatically
correct.
generated by the vault.
That's correct. Yeah.
All right. So
And the QR code will be sent out to the each and every user.
okay, so it's deploying now. Let's wait for the deployment to complete.
Again, we are following the same workflow here. And just to mention that this must be, Rajit, our fifth or sixth workshop. We have been conducting workshop almost every month. So go and look our previous workshop. All these workshops, all these webinars are published in the YouTube channel. Subscribe to our channel and look at the other workflows getting deployed on the AppG platform.
Okay. So in this case, after the deployment is done, you need to remember we were giving the email IDs. So I got this email. And for every deployment that we did so far, I got, two emails, one from the build and the other one from the deployment. In the deployment notification, at the bottom, there is a URL. And that URL is what you want to use to log into the adminer. So, and again, I think this is a good time to talk about and kind of touch on the application URL again. And while I'm clicking on that.
That's correct. So many times applications team, like the developers or operations team, deploy the applications, but they're not clear about how to generate the certificate and how to create the URL. They start opening the node port, and again, there are a lot of the complexities to make the developers' life easy. This is what we are doing here is that to make the developers' life, they don't have to worry about the complexity of the underlying cloud and other technology which makes their applications kind of like the go live in the production. Uh, they start consuming these services without knowing the complexity. That's the whole idea. I'm the best Java developer or like the Python and Node developer. Why do I have to know the complexity of the Docker Kubernetes cloud certificate and all to deploy my applications? We are giving all these services through our platform and a stack.
All right. So Anusha just shared the details of what I need to give in the adminer. So as you can see, the adminer, I clicked on the adminer URL. The certificate is already generated. It's a authentic certificate. You can see the log on Chrome. So I'm at the prompt where I need to enter this information. So the system is going to be Postgres SQL, and server is going to be Postgres SQL 13. So again, when all of us do the same thing, it's actually pointing to the ones that are running in your namespace. So if this is pointing to my namespace. The password that was auto-generated is also shared by Anusha, so I'm going to use that.
Rajit, you put the username like it would be put this in server.
Sorry, I pasted in the wrong place. Okay. Now username is Springboot Web, and the password was auto-generated and it was shared. I'm going to copy and paste that. Now, before I do the OTP, I'm going to enter the database name, which is also Springboot Web. So for the OTP, so you can use your favorite OTP or authenticator. I'm using Google Authenticator. Scan the QR code, and you'll be able to see Adminer Workshop as one of the accounts there. So you can then enter the 6-digit number that was generated by the authenticator. So I'm going to enter that now. Hit login. Okay, I'm in. So I'm going to change. So I need to first change the schema, right?
Yeah,
So
we are deploying public schema. Yeah.
Public schema, and you can see the account table. It's got created, and I can see the data. So this is the data that was preloaded using the. So if I go back to the app YAML of so the data got loaded through the setup YAML.
And this link is also public, so you can download this zip file, and which is doing a simple like the table creation and the data load.
Okay, so this was basically a table that was created using this particular record here, right?
Yep.
So its name is Springboard. It is owner, table space, schema, and then we have the information about where to load the data from, the seed data from.
That's correct. Yep.
So you can see that's all loaded here. And anything else we want to show here, Sanjeev, before we conclude?
No, I think this is simple. If you want to make a change in that, you can show that. Yeah, this is a functioning adminer interface. You have full access to change the database.
Okay, so I can edit. So there is a, so I can say go and edit it. I'll make this A and save. So now I should see David here. Okay, yeah, just saving.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else we want to look at today? I mean, so again, since we kind of showed end-to-end how our platform can be used to deploy pods into a Kubernetes cluster that's also created and managed by the platform. Let's talk a little bit about the value of the platform, right? So can you touch on, why do we need a platform like this, and what are our customers benefiting from this?
That's true. So the first thing, as you said, the increased agility. What we see, the like large as well as the small enterprise, as I said earlier, is the talent scarcity, and you have to have the proper knowledge. And I would say like the proper knowledge means the right kind of knowledge to operate the cloud. And this is very rare because the cloud itself is changing very fast. So keeping up with the changing nature of the cloud is and finding the right talent is very difficult. Now, another thing that we see is that the cloud, the features, functionalities are there, but if you start like learning it or googling it, like you will see that there are many ways you can build a solution. There are many features. So like half the time people are getting confused at what to use or what not to use and at what cost point. And even if you put the two AWS like architect in the room, they will not agree most of the time, and we have seen that happening. So we are giving a like a pre-configured, the optimized way to consume the cloud. Now this increases agility a lot, kind of like you know what you are getting, you also know what you are getting at the price point, and at the same time you are not getting like I would say two things, like you're not getting locked down in a single cloud, because the way we build our multi-cloud platform today, you run in AWS, tomorrow you want to go to Azure, no problem. The entire platform can shift within no time, and so that also gives you ability. And if you want to use the multi-cloud, you are at the right place, because from the single interface you can operate the multiple cloud. So this gives you the speed that you need to move at your, you just focus on your like the business application which you're good at, keep on writing the best code, and we take care of the cloud migrations, the day two operations, and our platform enables the SRE capability, and we also provide SRE as a service. That's a separate thing that we can discuss. Now, reducing the risk. As you could see in the today's webinar, that we did not log into any interface, whether it was the Kubernetes cluster, whether it was cloud, or it was a private data center, but we didn't log anywhere. As a developer, as an operator, I am just interacting with my GitHub repository. All my actions are GitOps based, so it is fully controlled, fully audited. So people can come to Git and see that what did I do, and people can come to the Azure dashboard and see that what was the after effect of that change. Now, if it is UAT in productions, you will be mandated to put an approval either at the Git level or at the platform level. So this is reducing your risk a lot. On top of that, our stacks that we are providing are the secure and the curated images. So it's not that like your developer is downloading from net any random image with the vulnerabilities. We scan all our AppGS stacks, and then only we promote it for the download at the customer side. Now, the next is the cost. So once you have the other two, the cost, like your total cost of operations to migrate to the cloud, and also the day two operations, it drastically kind of reduce. And we call our operation the low touch. And low touch and kind of the high impact that we are getting with the AppG platform.
All right. So anything else you want to cover, Sanjeev? I think we are good now, right?
No, I think just to mention that we are on the AWS marketplace. We are getting onto the Azure marketplace sometime soon, most probably like next month, and we will be in the Google also by the end of the year.
Okay. So if you are looking for cloud migrations, especially, we are a Kubernetes first cloud migration platform. We have successfully migrated pretty much all the workloads that we came across so far into Kubernetes, and we'll love to help you. If you have any queries, please contact us, and stay tuned. We have more webinars coming. We plan to do 2 webinars a month. Sorry. All right. Thanks everyone for joining. Anything else, Sanjeev?
No, we are good. Thank you.